Okay, welcome to the Dynasty Saturday Night 5. We are live again, back together, the dynamic duo or something like that. To Dynamic Dynasty Duo, doing our thing here on a Saturday night, hanging out with folks. I'm Brian Ford here with my co-host Josh Walker. Josh, how you doing?
Doing good. I'm ready for the holidays. December is one of my favorite months. It's my birthday month, so I try and stretch it out more than just a week.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a birthday month. Just do the
Yeah,
whole thing, like
yeah. And the
countdown, and
playoffs are
yeah,
coming.
yeah,
hmm
yeah, yeah. Yeah. You're gonna? I know the answer to this question, but people think I'm weird. Are you someone who like pays attention to like the NFL playoffs, even if like there's no fantasy implications?
I do a little bit, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm not as into it, but I still do the DFS and stuff. So I try and
Mm-hmm.
always do something that keeps me interested in it. If I didn't do the DFS, I'd still watch it, but if I had other things going on, I would just pick the other thing. So
All right, I was expecting a very different answer. Like, of course I effing do. What do you think, weirdo? Because I like basically once the fantasy playoffs are over, like football
yeah,
kind of doesn't exist to me. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
I mean, I pay enough attention to know if somebody's shatters their femur and stuff like that. But like, I
Yeah,
don't care.
I think it's also just the time of year it is. There's, college football. There's other stuff going on. It's the
Yeah.
holidays, New Year. So
Oh, Gator already with the digs. We knew you were weird. But we love is weird though. Yeah, yeah.
2 minutes in.
Yeah, no, but I think he means out of love. We love Gator.
Absolutely.
Gator loves us. So please subscribe, rate, and review. And if you're watching here on the YouTube, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the Going for Two live YouTube channel. So Dynasty Saturday Night 5, we do lists of 5 about Dynasty, kind of as a way to have a Dynasty conversation for that week, and then kind of put a bow on it and send you off. This is going to be our last episode for a little bit. We're going to take a break for the fantasy playoffs and then come back strong and get into some rookie content. That's gonna be fun. I
Yep.
think for sure. I don't really start my like process until probably like between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah.
Like during bowl season. So you know. Uh, I'll do a little more digging. I mean, I can talk shop about it now and sound like I know what the hell I'm doing, but like, I want to really know what the hell I'm
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. I feel like doing it a little too early. You end up just having to change and redo about everything you did based on
Yeah.
combine, bowl games, all that stuff.
I felt bad too because a lot of people put out like a rookie mock like a couple days before Butte said he's going back to school. I was like,
Oh, see, I didn't even
uh,
catch he was. That's how little I've
yeah,
really been paying
yeah.
attention to rookies right now.
Yeah, so it'll probably benefit him. So what we're gonna do tonight is kind of like a smorgasbord. I don't know the millennials. I think y'all do charcuterie now because you grew up on Lunchables, but we're gonna kind of do like a mixed bag of our thoughts, kind of as the fantasy regular season is ending. Some things to look forward to, some tips, and that sort of thing. So. Why don't you start us off, Josh? What's your first thought for the end of the fantasy regular season?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with kind of knowing your team, knowing your situation you're in, and knowing when to fold or when you need to make a push. Um, and like if you are still in the money and you even have a chance of making the playoffs, don't be afraid to trade away assets if you think it's going to really help you and you don't think it's going to help your team later down the road. And then also I target guys who are more popular than they should be to try and move if they're on your team, like Dameon Pierce, George Pickens, Gabe Davis, even Deshaun Watson. If you have other good quarterbacks, I'd be looking to trade any of those while people still like them a lot.
Yeah.
And try and get what you can to help your team win, because I don't really see those guys giving you enough this year to really help make a push. And I think you could probably trade it off to someone for something that could help you win now a little more. And then also just know when your team's older, know when it's time to throw in the towel. You can get a jump on it before a lot of people and get a lot of picks while other people are still trying to see if they're going to make the playoffs or not.
Right on. Um, yeah, I think that's. I wanted to bring up trade deadlines as we were talking about this, and that's a good time to bring it up. So,
Mm,
a lot of the leagues I play in don't have deadlines, right? So, and some of the ones I play in, the deadlines this week. So, like, it's still trade season for me in a lot of places. It's not always true for some folks, but it's also things to think about, too, as you move through into the off season about shedding guys that might still have name value or might be at that age cusp to try to get out
mm,
early before it's too late. So my first one is kind of related to that. I'm going to do kind of like a menu of tips for non-contenders, right? So it's the playoffs are coming up, and hopefully your your league doesn't have one of those things where like the consolation bracket matters much, because
mm.
one of the wrinkles, one of the fun things about purposely getting worse, so you can amass draft capital and stuff, is that you don't have to pay attention too much to
Yep.
the future and then all of a sudden want to be better and get the consolation bracket one. So, but that doesn't mean that you're going to check out from things. It doesn't mean that you're going to detach from real football, from fantasy, from what's going on in your league. So if you can still make trades this week or through the playoffs, um, stand your ground, right? Those contenders need you more than you need them in a lot of cases, but also know when to quit, right?
Yep.
Take a third for Jamal Williams, like
Yep.
get them off your roster.
Yeah.
It's hard to balance sometimes to know when to make that call, and the urgency of a deadline or the urgency of the playoffs can motivate maybe contenders to make the move, but they're also going to tell you, okay, fine, let Cordarrelle Patterson, stay on your roster, right? You want to don't always try to be a shark just because you think you have to, right? Make the move that improves your team, prioritize getting age and points off the roster, keeping you fluid by amassing picks that will gain value, et cetera, right? Also, stay active on waivers. I know, especially in redraft, is kind of like frowned upon for people who are out of it to make waivers, and I get that, right? But this is Dynasty; it's different, right? Waivers are thin, but some moves can still be made. There's potential out there. Identify guys that might be tradable, during the playoffs, that might have an injury or something, like an injury opportunity, that sort of thing, or someone who you think, stash them away because they might gain value in the offseason and then therefore become more tradable. Um, and then I would say dump marginal pieces that are hanging around. Like if you have had because it was like whatever. Yeah, I got a non-contender roster. It's a little dusty. I'm not maybe maintaining it as well as I might. You might have Mike Davis kicking around there still. You know what? Drop Mike Davis. In fact, he just got waived anyway, right? So that would be one other tip, and finally, get an earlier start on your rookie research, right? You have a perk now where you don't have to set lineups. You don't have to have the pressure of sweating the playoffs. You know, go start digging. Go start doing some rookie research. Gator is saying don't sell for pennies. Get the full dollar. I'm not saying sell for pennies, but I'm saying you don't always get the full dollar this time
Yeah.
of year. I'm saying be willing to take 75 cents on the dollar to get Jamal Williams off your roster, right? Like,
Which might be only a quarter next year worth.
yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
One point I did want to make about the rookies: if you're trading all your pieces for draft capital, it would only benefit you to go ahead and get a jump start on that. That way, you don't have all these rookie picks, and you might not have as much due diligence as you could have, and then you have a bad rookie draft, and you're kind of stuck again with rookies who aren't contributing or probably won't play for another year or two, and you just keep putting yourself back a little further. So
Yeah, and that kind of research too can also have you develop some sort of loose trade strategy,
mhm.
going into it, right?
Yep.
If knowing where you think folks might fall or knowing where you think value is will kind of, dictate what you do with when you trade during the rookie draft. So, for example, like I don't think Anthony Richardson or Will Levis are worth, first NFL first round draft capital, right? But if they get it, that's awesome for me because
Mhm.
now there's 4 first round quarterbacks, NFL first round quarterbacks in my rookie draft first round, right? So now my 106 just got more valuable, right? And now, I don't know, a JSN or somebody slips down to, 107, 108, right? Now I'm getting maybe Sean Tucker at 111 or 112, right? So, it things get spicy, with that. So that's you need to get a head start on research. So what's your next thought as we wrap up the season?
This next one's going to kind of jump around a little bit, and this is also, if anyone is listening that does redraft, it's also very applicable to redraft. It's basically just try and find out who's this year's league winner down the stretch, kind of like last year Rashad Penny was. Guys that had him on their team did very well in the playoffs. Helped boost their team up a lot when he didn't give anything the rest of the year. And just two people off the top of my head that you could have picked up off of IR who'd been injured: Jamison Williams. J.K. Dobbins is coming back, and also Hollywood Brown. Those are 3 guys who just popped into my head right away that could really boost your team up. That you might have either stowed away or traded for while they were hurt. That could really boost you. Second one's handcuff running backs, whether it's going out and trading for a handcuff for one of your running backs or trying to pick one up off the wire if you're in like a 10-team league and it's a little more like people in the player pool.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those are Jalen Warren and Benny Snell. Both of them have shown that if Najee doesn't play, they can be useful. J-Rob and Bam Knight. Bam Knight's already stepped in. He's done pretty well. P. Ryan is one. And then Hasty. I had Henderson written down earlier in the week and last week, but he got cut. So not him, but JaMychal Hasty's a pretty good pickup if ETN goes down.
Wait, the Jags cut Henderson?
I thought I saw on Twitter that Darrell Henderson got cut.
He got cut from the Rams, and then the Jags picked him up. No,
Maybe.
I don't know. I thought
it could have been it. So either way, he was an option. And then people who get like a quarterback change, like the Jets wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, they haven't really done much all year, but they could really, with Mike White or even Joe Flacco, really give you a nice boost at the end.
Yeah, the number of offensive plays that the Jets run with Mike White as compared to what they were running with Zach Wilson is significantly higher, right? And we know that Elijah Moore, his nemesis was Zach Wilson, right? So yeah. All right. I guess my next one is be careful with running backs. Now, of course, it's Dynasty. We always say be careful with running backs, but I've kind of been on this, idea, this narrative for like weeks, and people are probably tired of hearing about it who have been chatting with me in various places. But, we have guys rising that we like or that I like, Rashad White, Tony Pollard, Pacheco has kind of proven that, at least he's more useful than CEH at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Dameon Pierce, I think, surprised some people with how well he's done. Brian Robinson, Gibson might be the more dynamic player, but Robinson's getting, the more opportunities and that sort of thing. Right? But be careful, right? We have a big, deep free agent class of running backs in 2023, right? We also have several running backs who have outs in their contract after this year. And we have several big name running backs who can save their team's money if they're cut or traded this offseason, right? Throw in that we have what people are saying is a pretty good rookie class of running backs, right? Now, what you have now is a giant buyer's market for running backs, right? I think Jacobs, Saquon, maybe one other dude, they'll get banked, they'll get paid. The rest, though, we could see guys go unsigned for longer. We could see them take shorter, cheaper deals. We could see people end up with very different roles than they have now. I mean, the NFL already is changing how they deploy running back and increasing sort of the committee type structure, you might see that even more moving into next year. Take a guy like Dameon Pierce, right? Um, I didn't like him much as a prospect. Some people did. I know Gator's going to be wrong. Going to be mad, right? At that, but which he's wrong anyway for being mad at it. So I guess I didn't make a mistake. And he surprised people, right? But now what you're looking at is a day 3 running back, right? Who's going to inherit probably new coaching, right? Who now has the deep free agent class, the rookie class. They're going to get a competent quarterback, but his role could look pretty different. It's very possible that he remains sort of a 1A, but they have a much better, change of pace and or a pass catching option than checks notes Rex Burkhead and Dare Agumbalale, next year. So just things to look out for as far as and when you're trading, be careful too. Dante Foreman, might be cheap. Well, he's a free agent too, right? And he's the exact type of guy that could end up in a committee. So be careful with running backs. What I would do, if you're a middler, if you're even in the playoffs right now, if you're like 5-6, pretty much if you're not like have a really good chance of getting your buy-in back one way or another, don't get stuck in the middle. I'd move some of these guys like Mixon or Chubb or, even Jacobs or Zeke, Aaron Jones, Kamara, Dalvin Cook. Flip them, pivot to next year, right? You're not going to make much noise in the playoffs. So, you know what? Don't get stuck in the middle.
Yeah, I like that last point because just to that point, I've traded this year Chubb plus for Breece Hall on a pick. I traded Dameon Pierce. The only 2 leagues I drafted him in the rookie draft before the year even started. Happy with what I got for him while he was still being hyped up. So I think that's really good advice, and it really helped me, kind of to my point, realize what I'm doing and just go ahead and start looking to next year and starting to acquire draft picks. So.
All right. So what's your last musing as we round out the fantasy regular season?
This last one is pretty straightforward. It's just know which defenses to target down the stretch. We've had enough data going forward to realize which defenses are good and bad against certain things. Mm-hmm. So I really just highlighted, the top 4 or 5 defenses to target against quarterbacks, running backs, and tight ends, and wide receivers. Defenses like Detroit, Las Vegas, and those are the main 2 I saw in almost every category. Those are 2 you could target no matter what position you're looking for. But then you got some like Tennessee, who's really good against running backs, but they're also bad against quarterbacks and wide receivers. I know
particularly perimeter wide receivers, yeah.
Yep, exactly. Mm-hmm. They basically just hope to shut down the run and just hope you don't beat them by the pass. And then with running backs, you got Chicago, Houston, Seattle, Cleveland. Those are some people who have just been absolutely awful against running backs.
Yeah.
And then tight ends. I know a lot of people shit on tight ends, but you can get a real advantage, especially if you know which ones to play to win. Arizona's been really bad. Seattle, Miami. The Falcons, of course, have been really bad. They're always bad.
Minnesota's a pretty good one to pick on with tight ends.
Yep. Minnesota's pretty bad across the board also.
Yeah.
Outside of running. They're decent against the run. But also knowing like which stud defenses, like San Francisco 49ers are top defense, but they're also allowed the 13th most fantasy points to receivers. Mm-hmm. So kind of getting in there doing the research, you can figure out which ones don't be afraid to try and pass against Buffalo if you got a receiver because they're a good defense, but they do allow a decent bit of yards to wide receivers in the pass also. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good, especially as we think about like what the matchups are going to be in playoff season, which we're about to get to in a second. But Gator, what are our top 3 go-to songs? Well, that's coming out of nowhere. I don't know. I have I'm #old. I have an iPod Classic in my car with 17,000 songs on it. So picking 3 go-to ones is super hard for me. So let me toss it to you, and maybe I can think of a little bit.
All right. The easiest way I can do this, because my brain, like jumps all over the place. So does my music selection based on kind of the mood I'm in. If I,
Mm-hmm.
need to pick me up, or if I'm just so I'll go with my top 3 genres if that helps.
Sure,
Uh,
let's do it.
I've always been really into punk, especially going back to like late '90s, 2000s punk, like Gorilla Biscuits, The Descendants, stuff like that. Also like '90s and early 2000s hip hop, Jay-Z, Nas, Tribe Called Quest is really good.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then also just I'm really big into heavy rock, melodic hardcore to be exact, is what my Spotify told me I listened to the most this year. So just something if I like, if I'm feeling a little down, just need some energy or something. I like some heavy music also. So.
Yeah. I don't think I use Spot enough to get a rap. It would just be podcasts if they gave me a rap. So that yeah, I'm kind of similar in that regard. So first of all, yeah, '90s is golden age hip hop. Like
Yep.
I don't. I hate to sound old, right? But a lot of the stuff I hear now, I'm just like, what is this, right? Let's see. I would say, I'm a huge Fish fan. I've seen them over 200 times, and I'm going to see them another 4 nights at Madison Square Garden this year between Christmas and New Year's. So let's pick a Fish song. The best 3 minutes in rock and roll today is a song called Tweezer Reprise, right? They take the melody of one of their most famous songs, Tweezer, and kind of use it, but like rework the song, and it's a much shorter, punchier version that ends a lot of shows. It's like the last song in the show usually when they play it. Um, let's see.
I didn't think Fish was capable of writing a 3-minute song.
Well, don't turn this into a. I will fight you. I will fight you. I will fight you
I'll,
as to why that's even valuable to begin with. Let's see. Okay, then let's just stick with this. I'm a big Grateful Dead fan, and
yeah.
I think I hate to use a cover as like the go-to song, but if you go to the version of, it's a cover of like an old like Irish ballad or some shit. Peggy O. If you go to the version they played at Englishtown, New Jersey, when there was like 100,000 people there in the '70s, it's not '72, maybe later than that. Anyway, go check that out. And let's throw in the Clash, a song called "Clamp Down." It's sort of an anti-fascist song, and kind of captures my politics in a quick, punchy song. But actually, I love Golden Age hip hop. I'm a huge Frank Sinatra fan,
Yep.
and I love jazz. John Coltrane. I listen to John Coltrane all day. So yeah, so this kind of stuff is hard for me to. Also, an old folk song. You ain't done nothing if you ain't been called a red. Is a good one too.
I've
It's
never
an
heard
old
that one.
it's an old like commie song. Yeah,
Okay.
about like basically you're not, if no one's called you a communist, you're not doing anything useful, right? Like if you're not scaring people, you haven't done anything cool, right? All
No,
right.
I can resonate with
Yeah.
that. One last thing, I used to listen to
Yeah.
ska a lot. I don't know why I
Oh
don't anymore, but I
yeah.
do love
Yeah.
ska. Streetlight Manifesto, any of their songs is good.
Okay. All right. Gators on board with the music stuff. Yeah. We had a band in New Jersey here that a lot of people liked in the ska genre. It was Inspector Seven, I think it was called.
I
Anyway,
don't think I've heard of them.
yeah, they were really good. Gator traded Damian Pierce for Najee in a second. I'm on board with that. I think
Yeah.
there's gonna be a bit of a Najee revival, and
Yep.
plus you get the second. Like you probably spent a
That's a
second on
steal.
you spent a second on Pierce, and you're getting it back. But like yeah, that's an easy one for me. That's very good. I
Yep.
like that for you, Gator. Yeah, yeah. All right. So we were talking about matchups, which brings us to bonus content for Dynasty Saturday Night 5. But wait, there's more. And tonight it is week 17, right? Which is of course championship week, right? Now, in order to play in the championship, you got to get to a championship, right? So weeks 15 and 16 matchups matter a whole lot. But we didn't want to, bog you down with 3 weeks of, going through the NFL schedule and be very boring for folks. So we're looking at championship week, the good and the bad. You want to go back and forth? You want to do good then bad? What do you want to do?
Let's just we'll do one of each. That way we don't get just caught up on. Also, week 17 is good if you're not in first place, but you're in, say, third or fourth, just trying to get your money back. So, a lot of leagues do allow you third or fourth to at least make just a little bit of money or at least get your money back. And that's at least my goal, is to get my money back.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So. All right, let's start with the good. The Dallas pass catchers and Dak at a pass funnel defense, Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, that's like I said earlier, Tennessee's really, really bad against receivers, especially outside ones. So that'll definitely help CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, even Noah Brown. They're decent against tight ends, so I'm not as looking at that. But they are third in fantasy points allowed to quarterback and first in wide receivers, and it's really not even that close in wide receivers. So that'll definitely be a good matchup for CeeDee Lamb.
And let's do the flip side of that while we're at it on the bad side. If you're relying on Ryan Tannehill in Week 17, God bless you. But if you've got Tanny or some of the Titans' weapons, you're going up against the Dallas defense with its pass rush and its propensity for turnovers. So, there'll be a negative game script. So, but I don't know. So, like if you have Burks or Westbrook Akine or my boy Chig, I don't know. It might be a tough matchup for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And just goes to show how good Dan Quinn is. I was pretty happy with him as a Falcons coach, and he did better than I thought he would, but he's damn good as a defensive coordinator, and he's really got them playing well. I hate that they're so good because I hate the Cowboys, but yeah, I'm definitely avoiding them if I can down the stretch.
All right. So let's go to another positive. 49ers weapons, of which there are many, although we don't know what the quarterback situation is looking like. Yuso Purdy might still be there. I don't know if they're going to sign somebody off. I don't know if Josh Johnson that they signed off the street is going to be doing anything. But Shanahan can scheme for Purdy and get guys like get some layup throws to short passes to CMC or Debo or whatever, Kittle, right? So they're facing a very bad, although on the road, Las Vegas Raiders defense that is loves to give up big games to quarterbacks.
Yeah, they love to blow leads. They love to give up a ton of points. And, I think it'd be, if it were me, I'd stick with Mark Purdy instead of bringing in somebody trying to teach him a whole new playbook. But it shouldn't be too hard given their weapons, the way McCaffrey can run and pass, and Debo can run and catch passes, and Debo can do the same. I don't think it should be too hard to get some screens, some nifty little run, shovel passes, easy stuff like that to get them in the game, some screen passes. And yeah.
So, speaking of 49ers quarterbacks, I made a trade, sent a contender Goff. I got back Jimmy G in a second, 23-second. Goff's value is right around a 23-second anyway. I would say a little more. Some people say it is. And then I got Jimmy G, and maybe he's a starter somewhere next year, and then all of a sudden I can trade him too. So I like it.
No, yeah, especially the second getting thrown in. That's really nice.
All right. So now we're going to go to bad. Let's see here. Let's do the flip side of that game. Las Vegas Raiders are home, but they face a San Francisco defense that is very good with Bosa back. And gets pressure, is pretty good against the run. So I think Adams finds a way to always eat no matter what, you know what I mean? Like, because he's just such a target hog. But Jacobs and Carr, week 17.
Yeah, I definitely, Adams is matchup proof. He's one of those 5, 6, maybe 7 receivers that you keep in there no matter who they're playing, because they're still going to get their targets and receptions. But yeah, San Francisco is absolutely dominant against running backs, especially in the yards per carry and just handing the ball off and tight end. But they are susceptible to give up fantasy points against receivers. So Adams, maybe even depending on the situation, Matt Collins, because I don't think they're going to be ahead. I think they're going to have to pass a lot. because I do think it will be easy for San Francisco to score given their weapons. So it's not a good game script for Josh Jacobs, even though he does get passing work.
Yeah, very true. On the good side, maybe Denver pass catchers are at a pass funnel defense in KC. It's Arrowhead, so take it for what it's worth. But this week that they're home against a pass funnel, right? And I don't know. You said here, what did you put in the sheet?
I put fading all Denver players outside of Dulcich and Latavius Murray going forward. And if I thought at the start of the year that I said Latavius Murray was going to be a viable option and one of the only ones on a team, I would have thought I was crazy, but that's where we are.
Well, I'm just gonna say a little caveat to that.
Mm-hmm.
Without Sutton, I think Judy might have a pretty good week this week. He's, it's possible. Negative gain script. They throw a little more this week.
Yeah.
First of all, I love Dulcich. He's in a smash spot, but he could have a pretty good week at only 5,400 in DFS, and so maybe that's true for week 17 too if Sutton's not back or whatever. So yeah.
Well, the good thing is you get to see this week to see what happens without Sutton, so you can kind of know going forward what to look for and what to expect.
What's the extent of his injury? I didn't catch what it was.
I haven't looked. I can look that up real quick while we jump to the next one.
All right, let's go then to the bad. How about let's see. Miami, who's been on fire, goes to a cold New England in early January, week 17. I'm expecting lower totals in that game.
Yeah, I think so. I think especially because off the top of my head, I don't think a lot of the players for the Dolphins have played in cold weather environments too often. Maybe Tyreek in Kansas City, but I know Tua probably not. Jalen Waddle I know has played in Miami and then also Alabama, so he might. But I definitely do think that's going to help the New England defense because they're more used to that. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to fade them, but just temper expectations.
Right. All right. On the good side, let's talk about two rush defense opportunities here. Cleveland and Houston have been just terrible rush defenses all year. So if you've got Brian Robinson home against Cleveland, or Etienne at Houston, they have fire them up week 17. I mean, you were going to play them anyway, but when you're thinking about start-sit, when you're thinking about trades you can make during the playoffs because deadlines suck, those are two guys to think about.
Yeah, I think those are great. Even if, either of those get hurt, you can pretty much – those teams are so bad against the run that you can pretty much fire up mediocre to below average NFL running backs, and they're still going to produce fairly well just because how bad they've been against the run. Mm-hmm. And it's just frustrating watching Antonio Gibson. I don't think he's hurt right now, but watching Brian Robinson start over him still bugs me a little bit. I do like Robinson, but it's still frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said before, I think Gibson is the more dynamic player. I think people are hating on Robinson a little too much, but it is interesting the way they're deploying them. A lot of people think that Ron Rivera won't be there next year, so
he shouldn't be.
Let's go to the bad. Lamar Jackson, who has been kind of meh this year, relative to sometimes we've seen him before. No Bateman still all year, right? He's out for the season, and he'll be in home, but he'll be facing the Pittsburgh pass rush with TJ Watt.
Yeah, I think the only chance for upside in that game is Lamar rushing. They might not contain the pocket, might over pursue, and he can take off. But even when he's rushed well, he's not. I don't think it's his fault as much as Greg Roman play calling, all that stuff. It's not really giving him good opportunities to make plays throwing without throwing to Mark Andrews or taking a big shot. So I think that needs to change. But given his rushing upside, he could always do better. But it's not. I have a few IDP leagues. I'm definitely in TJ Watt those games, especially with Ryan Stanley out now.
Hey, Kyle Senra checking in. Always appreciative of Kyle, part of the Going for Two family, on several of our podcasts and his own that he does outside of Going for Two. At Senra Says on Twitter. Thanks for popping in. Let's go back to the good. Let's see here. We talked about picking on Detroit. Detroit home games, huge point totals relative to their road games. Chicago goes at Detroit week 17. Fields, Kmet, Mooney, they don't have huge ceilings, but if there's going to be a ceiling week, Fields has a huge ceiling, but if there's going to be a ceiling week, it's going to be against Detroit.
Yeah, and on that point, with Justin Fields playing, barring that he doesn't get hurt again or they don't sit him, Detroit is by far the worst team against running quarterbacks. They've allowed 532 rushing yards, and the second is 420, and then after that it goes down to 340. So they're really bad against rushing quarterbacks, and that's Fields' main part of his game while he doesn't have any weapons to throw to, really. So, yeah, that's a smash spot for Justin Fields, and even Montgomery and Kmet. That's about it. Maybe Mooney, yeah, but.
All right, let's go back to the bad. We talked about Cleveland, Washington, as far as being good for Brian Robinson. Cleveland at Washington. Chubb is Chubb, right? He breaks off big runs, but Washington has a pretty good defense. We don't know what Watson's going to look like by then, but not a great team to be going up against in a championship week.
Yeah, I think it was last week I played Chubb in DFS. He only got 8 points. So games where he doesn't break long runs, he doesn't get in the end zone, and they get behind, he's still valuable, but it's definitely not as good as when they're a close game or they're ahead and they can just run the ball down people's throat. And Washington was bad to start the year on defense, but they've really improved, and they haven't even gotten Chase Young back yet. So, they've definitely come around.
And bonus content, they don't have a very good offensive line, so Myles Garrett and company could feast. So if you're rolling out Taylor Heineke in your super flex week 17, God bless you for getting to the finals with him on your, as your QB2.
Hey, I have Heineke in my Superflex in the team I'm 4 and 17 with the median scoring. So that's the only way. Hopefully, you're playing Heineke is if you're just trying to field an active roster.
So let's go to the good. I love this game. Buffalo at Kansas City.
Oof.
And I love that it's not in Buffalo, right? That could be a potential shootout, week 17. So basically, wheels up on everybody on those teams, right?
Yeah. My memory could be wrong because I was wrong about Darrell Henderson earlier, but I remember a game like this last year, or maybe a year before that everyone thought was going to be a blowout, and it was 17-20.
Yeah.
So, there is the chance that
it happens.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's a perfect environment for a shootout. You got the top 2 quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion, going at it. And the Bills are better on defense, but Patrick Mahomes he's pretty much matchup proof also. So.
But he's not playing. That's Buffalo and Cincinnati.
I thought you said Kansas City.
No, Buffalo and Cincinnati.
I could have swore you said Kansas City.
I don't know.
That's even better. That's even better than
either
Kansas
way.
City. Yeah. The point still stands. Not the top 2 quarterback, but still top 5 quarterback. So
there's a way the game gets a little bit of a dud and hits the under, right? Cincinnati's got pretty good pressure rate, although lately they've been not so great against the run. They've been good against the run this year. Buffalo is not as tough a matchup on defense recently as people think, but again, they're not bad either. There's no Von Miller though, so it's an interesting game, and it could mean something for playoffs and stuff like that when you get to that point in the season.
I definitely like it being a shootout more with Cincinnati just because they got better wide receiver weapons. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. It's gonna be a lot harder to cover them than Kansas City guys.
All right, so let's go back to the bad. Olave. goes on the road to Philadelphia. That's a tough matchup for passing. If you're going to beat Philly, you're going to, not that they're bad at the run defense, but you're probably going to try to do it on the ground.
Mhm.
That's a tough matchup for championship week.
That is, especially with Andy Dalton as the quarterback. I would feel a lot better about it if Jameis were the starter. And I'm just going to go on a small little mini rant about Dennis Allen and the Saints. Well, on one hand, I'm okay with it because I hate the Saints and I want them to lose every game they play. It's terrible for fantasy watching Andy Dalton be the starter of an NFL team when they have like Jameis, who 2 years ago absolutely like passed for a ton of yards, a lot of touchdowns. Interceptions will come with that, but I like that more than fucking Andy Dalton going out there still starting.
So as an addendum to your mini rant, Jameis Winston a trade target now that his value's dipped a little bit. People have a worse opinion. Like, hey, the guys can't even start with Andy Dalton in his way. No,
I think it's worth a shot. I mean, don't overpay for it. I think
Sure.
you can get him for basically nothing, but I think it's worth a shot given he does have potential. Say what you want about him as a person, but he's shown he can be very good for fantasy. So I would try to.
Would you move a mid-second for Jameis Winston?
No, I wouldn't. Not with the 23 class. Maybe a 24.
I would,
but I like the second round from the very limited amount of research I've done for the rookies. I think there's going to be a lot of value in the second round, especially like you said earlier, if those quarterbacks get bumped up to first round draft capital in the real draft.
I'd do it. It's a quarterback that could potentially be starting next year in a super flex, and the hit rate for a mid-second, it drops a lot from first to second round. I'd do it. I'd do it. Yeah. But you are right. The second round is going to be pretty good. With this class for sure. All right, back to the good. Minnesota on the road, but they catch a bad Green Bay defense. Green Bay on the other hand catches the pass funnel Minnesota defense.
Yeah, so it's basically to me a Christian Watson and Justin Jefferson smash game. Justin Jefferson, you're playing him regardless, but given that the fact that it could be a shootout, it's really good for even Thielen, Hawkinson, and even Dalvin Cook. I feel like Dalvin Cook's not got a lot of people aren't talking about him as much this year, and I think he's getting overlooked a lot, but he could be really good also.
Yeah, with the pass happy offense, his role is a little, just not quite what it was. But there's on any given week he can hit ceiling. So, are you concerned though with Minnesota at a cold Green Bay in early January? I mean, it's road Kirk. It's Kirk Cousins on the road, right?
Yeah. Part of me would be. I know Minnesota is a dome after the snow fiasco, but I do like to think that knowing that a cold game's coming up, that they would practice outside, at least try and get acclimated, and Minnesota's the perfect place to do that. So I'm not as worried about it as I am Miami, but it is still something. Team that plays in a dome going to where it could be a couple inches of snow, or below 10 degrees with heavy winds, like that definitely is something to keep in mind, especially for the Kirk Cousins and Jefferson.
Quick mini rant. To get Bills Mafia completely angry at us or at me, it's time to get a dome. Stop it with the nonsense. Get a dome. In fact, I think anybody north of DC should have a dome, but that's a whole other story.
Oh, a whole nother little mini rant based on domes. I think and I go through this every baseball season when there's rainouts and snowouts. It's like, why doesn't every baseball stadium have at least a retractable roof? With the money they spend on stuff nowadays, like, you can afford it.
And they're trying to get games in March and April when it's like cold/rainy in places. Like,
no, I don't. Retractable roof. You can still, if you want it to be cold, it can be cold, but no rain delays.
Okay, I'll compromise with Buffalo. Retractable roof. Do it.
Yep.
Stop it with your I wear no shirt in the snow. Stop it. Okay. So that was. Let's go back to the bad so that we'll end on good.
Yep.
I don't know the extent of Aaron Donald's injury. He should be back by week 17, but there's really no point in rushing him back. But assuming he's back, right? That might be bad news for Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler.
Yeah, if he's back, it would be. If I were them, I would just let him sit the rest of the year he's healthy. But if he comes back, you definitely have to take that in mind, especially because I don't know how much it'll hurt their offense since it seems like they just don't throw the ball past 10 yards that much. They either dump it off to Eckler or throw a little quick pass. So maybe they'll just do that even more just to make sure there's that pressure. But if he's there, it's definitely going to impact the game, especially more for Eckler. And on Cortland Sutton, he's day-to-day with a hamstring injury. Hamstring injuries can linger, so that could be back next week, could be out for the rest of the year.
Could be Kadarius Toney and Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's end on a good note, although slightly gross. The dynamic LA Rams offense gets the run funnel Chargers defense. So fire up the revived Cam Akers. But also, it'll probably be a low total because the Chargers won't have to push to beat the Rams. But either way, the Rams are in shambles, so it's a good matchup for the Chargers.
Yeah, this gives me a good chance to plug Notre Dame, go Irish. Kyron Williams would be perfect for that. If they get behind, he can run. He can also catch passes. So him and Akers both be able to be in there. And what? Go ahead.
Despite the venomous hate,
it's like, what better of a narrative? I think there's a little lag. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're breaking up and freezing a bit. Yeah, sorry about that. Go ahead, keep going.
It's like, what an awesome narrative it would be for everyone to shit on Cam Akers just for him to come back and win a fantasy championship in the playoffs.
Ooh, wouldn't that be sweet? Yeah. And as much as I have a lot of hate for Notre Dame, I am a Kyron guy. I mean, sure, he's, whatever. The combine numbers weren't good, but, I mean, he was a leader on Notre Dame, intangibles, can catch passes. Like, he's not really done much, but, like, come on. Like, it's, Wolford and Perkins and, all the shambles that is the Rams team. So I do like him. I do think people buried him a little too quickly and somebody to kind of keep an eye out on next year. But yeah, wouldn't that be great? Cam Akers, who went from like healthy scratch trade me, like, getting 2.3 yards per carry is like, goes for 83 and 2 tuds against the run funnel Chargers defense and win somebody a championship. Oh, what a story.
Yep. I think that would be great. And I think I was the only person happy with, I wouldn't say happy because I wanted Kyron Williams to do well, but I saw his combine as a very good chance to get him at a discount because when he was at Notre Dame, he broke long runs. I mean, he's not the fastest guy, but he does have better game speed than he showed in the combine. So
I was going to say,
I got him in a bunch of my taxi squads.
Yeah. The idea of like game speed matters more, I think, is something that applies to Kyron Williams. So, All right, folks, that just about does it for us for our pre-playoff musings plus Week 17 bonus content. So please subscribe, rate, and review on the Going for Two Live podcast audio feed. Please subscribe to the Going for Two Live YouTube channel that you might be watching right now. Like all the videos and maybe even turn on those notifications. We're going to take a break for the fantasy playoffs and come back strong with some rookie content. But for now, time for plugs. Josh, where can we find you and your work?
Yeah, you can find me cussing out Arthur Smith on Twitter at Rotonaut, Rotonaut. Only took the whole year to get their rookie quarterback to see what he's done, can do. So happy about that. You can find all my rankings and stuff on goingfor2.com. I'm going to try and update those. I haven't in a few weeks because life got kind of busy, but I'm going to try and do those here this week. So they'll be updated, and I'll definitely do it through the off season. So.
All right, Gator showing some love in the chat. Great show. As always, Kyle saying this week and all season long, guys, great work. We really do. We really do appreciate that. This was kind of like a new thing, and, we had never worked together, and we'll just see how it goes, and we've been having fun. You can catch me on Twitter at ffjunkie_, my Dynasty rankings on goingfor2.com. I'll probably write a little bit more on that site in the off season as things kind of slow down. That's kind of been my rhythm over the past couple of years with writing. And you can find me also on the Dynasty Fever podcast, audio only, drops on Thursdays at Dynasty Fever Pod. You can follow Going for Two and its big family of content. Goingfor2.com website. Plug into that with all the articles about everything that you need: DFS, Dynasty, redraft, hell, other sports. Kyle with his degenerate Canadian Football League DFS plays.
Hey, I tailed him in a few of those and won some money. I just want to hype him up. Follow him for that stuff. I don't know what the fuck was going on, but I followed him for a few and made a little bit of money. So, hey, it's easy money.
That used to be on like some channel, I forget. Maybe it was ESPN or something. When I was a kid, I used to catch a lot of like CFL games for some reason. But anyway, while you're on that website, little purple thing at the bottom right, join the Discord. It's free. It's popping. A lot of stuff going on our Discord. We also have a podcast for you just about every day of the week. We have the Sunday pregame show on Sunday mornings, and then a podcast, at least one podcast every night. But special, the holiday spectacular for Going for Two is going to be on December 21st at 9:30 Eastern, where a lot of your favorite Going for Two personalities will be on a live stream, having a lot of fun. I've been promised that there will be some drunken debauchery. I don't know. I don't drink. But yeah. And tonight, one of the members of the Going for Two family of podcasts, stay tuned on this very same YouTube channel for a pre-recorded version of Cover Zero, our IDP podcast. Any other Go Irish things you want to say before we land the plane here?
I wish I could say that we beat USC, but we didn't. We'll look forward to next year. Make it back to the playoffs. Mark my words.
All right, folks. Remember to enjoy the Popeyes chicken bowl game between Middle Tennessee State and
Eastern Kentucky.
It's just making just loads of money on this nonsense. 2 5-7 teams playing each other, and we need to get excited about it. Anyway, all right, folks, that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you after the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, happy holidays.